Mr. President, it's no secret that the 116th Congress got off to a rocky start as we tried to address the ongoing partial shutdown. Despite that, I remain optimistic that we can work together to get things done for the American people. Those looking for an example on how to find common ground should look no further than the important work Congress has done and continues to do for our veterans. The Senate Veterans Affairs Committee's hearing room is traditionally one of the most bipartisan places in Washington, and it's also one of the busiest. Last Congress, under Chairman Isaacson's leadership, we held 30 hearings, considered 56 pieces of legislation, and sent 17 of President Trump's nominees to serve our veterans to the full Senate. That spirit of cooperation continued here on the floor. During the last session of Congress, the Senate passed 23 major pieces of veterans-related legislation. As a result, the President signed into law bills that significantly enhance health care, education, retirement, and other benefits for our veterans. I want to talk briefly about two of the more notable measures, the VA Mission Act and the Forever GI Bill, to underscore why it's so important for Congress to operate in a collaborative manner. Bipartisan oversight of the departments and agencies that implement the laws we pass in this chamber is critical to ensuring the executive branch follows the intent of Congress. These two laws highlight just how important that is. Let's start with the VA Mission Act. This law was passed to replace the Veterans Choice Act, which was created in response to the VA Health Administration scandal of 2014. This was a good first step. The Choice program addressed many shortcomings within the VA system. However, my colleagues and I quickly learned it had its own share of troubles. Specifically, we heard repeated stories of difficulties navigating the complex and confusing bureaucratic process. And despite the new reforms, many veterans were still facing unacceptably long wait times at VA medical centers. Through our oversight of the Choice program, we recognized that more had to be done to strengthen and streamline VA healthcare services and its community care programs. That was the genesis of the VA Mission Act. One of the key reforms in the VA Mission Act is that it enables veterans to seek quality health care services in their own communities, whether inside the VA system or from a private sector provider. Specifically, the law requires the department to establish access and quality standards that will be used as the framework of the VA and the veteran to decide when to get care in a VA facility and when to get care in the community. If the VA is unable to meet certain designated access standards, veterans will be given the option to receive care in the community. Last week, the VA announced the proposed new access standards to determine a veteran's eligibility for the community care that will take effect this June. I'm pleased that the VA maintained the spirit of the law in its proposed access standards. We understood that providing additional access to community health care resources, there would be an added cost. As chairman of the Appropriations Subcommittee that has jurisdiction over the VA, I will be closely working, the entire committee will be closely working with the department, and my colleagues together will ensure that we have the responsibility of making sure that the allocation of resources to support veterans' health care are spent wisely. Oversight is also crucial to uncover negligence on the part of the agencies charged with implementing the law. This is exactly what happened when the VA failed to fully comply with the housing stipend rates set by the Forever GI Bill. Passage of the initial GI Bill after World War II was seen as a turning point in the way our nation treated those who served. The program was designed to give servicemen and women the building blocks they needed to succeed after leaving the military. The problem is those building blocks have changed in the 70-plus years since the GI Bill was first instituted. Since then, Congress modernized the GI Bill when it passed the post-9/11 GI Bill. After 17 years of war, it was once again time for an update. The Harry W. Comrie Veterans Educational Assistance Act, also known as the Forever GI Bill, brings educational benefits to veterans so that they can receive them in this modern era. It became apparent, however, that the VA was implementing key provisions of the law incorrectly. When Secretary Wilkie testified before the VA committee last September, I pressed him about the department's failure to fully award the housing allowances for more than 340,000 Forever GI Bill beneficiaries. According to the statute, the VA should have used the Department of Defense's 2018 basic allowance for housing rates. This should have been calculated based on the zip code where the student takes the majority of classes rather than on the zip code in which the school's main campus is located. Instead, some GI Bill recipients were receiving housing stipends at the 2017 rate and based on the school's zip code. This was clearly unacceptable. Once it was evident that the VA was not following the statute, Congress had an obligation to act. That's why Senator Schatz and I introduced the Forever GI Bill Housing Payment Fulfillment Act to demand an immediate fix from the VA. That bill became law within a matter of weeks from its introduction. What we are asking of VA with this law is really three things, threefold. Make every unpaid or underpaid veteran whole. Second, be accountable for the errors that have happened and prevent them from reoccurring in the future. Fix the problems to prevent them again from reoccurring so that we won't go through this problem again. It's promising to see that the VA has begun to carry out some of the requirements dictated in the Forever GI Bill Housing Payment Fulfillment Act. VA recently announced the members of the Tiger Team it is required to assemble per the statute. For those unfamiliar with the term, a Tiger Team is a team of specialists tasked to achieve a specific goal. In this case, it's comprised of 6 senior benefits and IT officials at the VA who will be tasked with providing Congress a detailed plan to correct this egregious error. Hopefully, the move will be such that it will quickly establish the team in a reflective and serious way that the department is mandated to do. It's frustrating that it took another act of Congress to get to this point, but we are committed, all of us are committed, to ensuring that the VA follow the laws it's written. In the spirit of cooperation, the leadership of the Congressional Committee overseeing the department recently sent a letter to Secretary Wilkie to request that the VA collaboratively with Congress work throughout the implementation process. This message was echoed during a recent subcommittee hearing I chaired about the VA's implementation of a modern commercial electronic health record. It's important to ensure that the VA is able to share information with the Department of Defense and community health care providers while it undertakes the largest health record modernization project in the nation's history. With all of the reforms underway simultaneously, it's vital for the VA to share information openly, even pre-decisional information, so that we can work together and have a common understanding of the impact of changes, including costs, that are able to assess challenges that may arise. The laws we pass in this chamber are a key part of our legacy, but our oversight responsibilities are of equal importance. The bipartisan manner in which the VA committee works to uphold that oversight responsibility sets an excellent example for the rest of Washington to follow. We appreciate the hard work of Secretary Wilkie and his team and all of those in the VA system that work so very hard on behalf of our nation's veterans. Together, working together we can ensure that veterans receive the benefits that they deserve and were promised.